Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wa salatu salam ala rasulullah. We continue reading from the 40 Principles, 40 Fundamentals of the Religion, Al-Arba Usul by Imam Al-Ghazali, rahimahullah. ونفعنا بعلوم في الدارين, آمين, آمين, آمين. One of the very last thing that we have read in the epilogue, the fact that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala praised Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam by saying, وَإِنَّكَ لَعَلَى خُلُقٍ عَظِيمٍ. You are most certainly upon sublime character. He was merciful to humanity, to human beings. He was merciful to animals. He was kind, forgiving, and when Lady Aisha, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala be pleased with her, when she was asked about the character of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, she said that his character was the Quran. He was an embodiment of the Quran, and that goes into every aspect. And one thing that he was known for even before prophecy, because first revelation took place when he was 40 years old, as you will know. He was known in Mecca as Al-Amin. Al-Amin is the trustworthy. It's an excellent trait. He was known as Al-Amin. He would not lie. They knew he would not lie. When he became a prophet, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when he received the revelation, he gathered people in the vicinity of Al-Kaaba, and he asked them first, before telling them that he became a prophet. He told them that if I tell you that there is an army behind this mountain and it's about to attack you, will you believe me? And they said that they have never known him to have lied. And this is really one of the best things about leaders. He was a prophet, but he was also a leader. Leaders should not lie. Leaders should not lie. How many times the Prophet ﷺ taught his companions to hold on to their tongues, control the urge, to say something that you regret in this life and the hereafter. If you are a leader, especially when you are a leader, a well-known leader around the world, don't say, I saw, like with your own eyes, when you did not see. And in no time you were rendered a liar. Liar. Everybody knows. Leaders who will lie will be exposed. You can lie to some people for some time. You cannot lie to all people all the time. The next subtitle within the epilogue is Warning Against Delusion in Attaining Good Character. Know that you might think of yourself as having good character, yet you are bereft of it. Beware of being deluded. You should make someone else be the judge of your character by asking as an insightful friend who does not flatter you. In general, if another person ascribes bad character to you, then it is probable that you are like that, because most character traits are in relation to others, so it is fitting that they appear to them. Among the areas of delusion in regards to character are that, for example, you get angry and believe that you are angry for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Another example is that you show off during worship and think you are doing so in order to set an example, or that you refrain from eating and seeking material things or control your anger, yet it pleases you to be known for these things. This is ostentation, which is the motivation for all these forms of delusion. For this reason, the areas of delusion with regard to good character that I have mentioned in the book of delusion from the revival from Ihya Ulum are many. This short work certainly cannot contain a full description of it. The heart being devoid of blameworthy characteristics, especially a love of the world. Your heart should be devoid of these character traits, and you should start in order to of importance. Start with the most dominant of these qualities and break them step by step. I believe that the predominant quality within you is love of the world, and all the other acts of disobedience and blameworthy character traits follow it. Deliverance from love of the world is not possible. Deliverance from love of the world is not possible for you unless you seek pure seclusion and reflect on the reason for your turning to the world and your turning away from the afterlife. You will not find a reason for it other than ignorance and heedlessness. Indeed, the most you will live in the world is 100 years. So, suppose that within 100 years you are given a kingdom that spanned the earth from east to west. Would you be pleased, while pursuing this, to miss out on a kingdom whose duration has no end, which is the kingdom of the afterlife? If you are unable to imagine eternity, then imagine that the entire world is filled with grains. Then imagine a bear taking a single grain once every million years. Just in case you think about did they use the word million? Well, in the old Arabic texts like the Ihya and this Arba'in, they use alf, thousand times 1,000. وقدر طائرا يأخذ في كل ألف سنة حبة واحدة. And in fact, we may simply correct the grain is corn, really. The grain would come to an end. The grain is dhura, corn. So the grain would come to an end. So if a bird takes from the earth only one kernel of of corn, once every 1 million years, still the there will be no more corn ultimately, even if the bird will eat only one every 1 million years. Life on earth is ultimately limited, and for the individuals it is short. And simply it's shocking, the leaders who insist on going in history books as those who made decision to kill children, innocent Oh, you don't even need to say the word innocent. Thousands of children, thousands of them. They will be judged in history books, but they will be judged on the day of judgment. They are lost in both. They are shamed. You see yourself being content with the hardship of travel, whether for trade or seeking leadership. And this consummate hardship is for the sake of something merely supposed. Perhaps you will meet death before it, or perhaps you will not acquire it in full, even if you achieve some success regarding it. However, you are content with that because you consider, for example, a year of hardship is to be something small in relation to the rest of your life. Your entire life is in relation to eternity is less than a year in relation to your lifespan. Of course, it's almost like a fraction of a second, even not that much. Actually, there's no comparison between the two. It's, infinity. How could, infinity compared to infinity? No, that's zero. Actually, there is no comparison between the two. Therefore, reflect on this, so that your ignorance is unveiled from up close. Perhaps you say, I only do this because I expect to be forgiven. For Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is certainly generous and merciful. To this I say, why do you not abandon raising crops, commerce, or seeking wealth with the expectation of finding a treasure in some ruins? For indeed Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is generous, and nothing of his dominion would diminish if he were to let you know in a dream that there was a treasure somewhere, so that you might take it. If you say that would be rare, then if it is within Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's power, He is omnipotent, then know that expecting to be forgiven despite ruinous actions and character is like expecting to find a treasure in ruins, also rare. In fact, it is even more far-fetched and rare. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has alerted you to this with His words, of course, revealed words in the Quran. وَأَن لَيْسَ لِلْإِنسَانِ إِلَّا مَا سَعَى. Man has nothing except what he strives for. He also said, أَمْ نَجْعَلُ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ كَالْمُفْسِدِينَ فِي الْأَرْضِ. Shall we make those who believe and do righteous deeds like those who sow corruption on the earth? Sow corruption. You should be averse to seeking wealth, since Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَمَا مِن دَابَّةٍ فِي الْأَرْضِ إِلَّا عَلَى اللَّهِ رِزْقُهَا. There is not a moving creature on the earth except that its provision is upon Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If one talks about individual, you talk about the individual on the individual level, it's one thing, but for the society at large, you need the wealth because it's about it's not about not believing in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala being the sustainer. It's about basically attempting to manage the wealth for the benefit of the Ummah, which would include ultimately also defending the Ummah, and that you cannot do without wealth. How then can you think of denying His generosity in this world and not relying upon Him, and furthermore deceiving yourself about His generosity in the afterlife, when you know that the Lord of the world and the Lord of the afterlife are one? Perhaps you say, the end results of worldly affairs have been unveiled to me directly and my heart is at rest with them. As for the matter of the afterlife, I have never witnessed it, and I do not find within my heart any real affirmation of it. For this reason, my desire for abandoning the world has languished. Hence, I take in cash what has been promised on credit, since I do not have confidence in it. I say, if you were from among those who possess insight, the matter of the afterlife would have unveiled to you explicitly, just as the matter of the world, of this world, has been unveiled. If you are not from among the possessors of insight, then reflect on their statements. For truly, in regard to the matter of the afterlife, people are of four types. One type affirms paradise and hell, as the Quran has informed. And you have already heard about the kinds of delights in the former and the penalties of the latter. A second type do not affirm physical pleasure and pain, but rather affirm them as imaginary states, like those that occur in dreams, such that each individual in paradise or hell will view it by himself. They claim that the effect on him will be like a real effect, since the pain of a sleeping person is like the pain of a wakeful person, like the pain of a wakeful person, from which he is delivered only by waking up. Whereas in the afterlife, this is a constant which never subsides. A third type affirms rational pain and pleasure, claiming that this is greater than the senses. They illustrate this with the example of feeling the pleasure of sovereignty or feeling its loss. For indeed, the loss of sovereignty causes much pain to the one who is overcome by his enemy, who takes his kingdom and denigrates him, despite the fact that an enemy's victory does not harm the body. These three types are those who perceive with insight. Among them are the prophets, saints, and theistic philosophers. All of them agree in affirming an eternal happiness and an eternal sorrow. Indeed, happiness is only attained through abandoning the world and turning to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If you were to become sick and were not from among the people of insight concerning medicine, but you saw the premier physicians have agreed upon a thing, you would not hesitate to follow them. In fact, just simply to elaborate just a little bit, Imam Al-Ghazali in Ihya Ulum says that this world is the abode, the house of the sick, Darul Marda. And the analogy is practically the same like this. People, when they get physically sick, they immediately seek a physician. But when the heart, and talk about, spiritually, when the heart is, we don't talk about the heart in the sense that you need a cardiologist. We talk about the heart as uh, you are sinning, you are, lax about your religious duties, you are spiritually not into it, and that's a sickness. You fall in love with this world to the degree that you ignore the hereafter. You should seek the physician, but he says, Imam Ghazali says in Ihya Ulum, the physician is the scholar. But again, he also says that the scholars themselves are sick in the second sense, spiritually, and sick with the love of this world. This is the virus, not coronavirus, not whatever. It's the love of this world. A fourth type is not from among those who perceive with insight in regards to divine matters. Rather, they are from the physicians and astronomers whose observations are limited to the four natures: heat, cold, moisture, and dryness. Old medicine, you might say even Greek medicine, and how they interact. They are of the opinion that the substance of the spirit is dependent upon these and do not comprehend the reality of true godly spirit. That for someone who knows Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Instead, they perceive nothing but the physical spirit. That is breath brought to maturity by the beating of the heart, and that spreads through the arteries to the entire body, thus sustaining sensory perception and movement. This is the spirit that is also found in dumb animals. As for that special human spirit that is ascribed to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in respect of which He said, وَنَفَخْتُ فِيهِ مِنْ رُوحِي, and I have breathed into him from my spirit. They do not comprehend it. They think that death is non existent and that the spirit goes back to the corruptible components of the body. With regards to these people who are between two matters, either to assert the possibility of them being wrong or to know decisively the correctness of their statement. If you assert the possibility of their error, it is incumbent for you to turn away from the world by sheer probability. If you were truly hungry, came upon some food, and set yourself to eat it, then a boy informed you that there was poison in it, or that a snake had spewed venom in it, you would bear the hunger and leave the food. You would say, if he is lying, then I won't miss anything but the pleasure of eating. If he is telling the truth, then therein is my destruction. Such a possibility is unassailable. If only I knew, with the possibility of an eternity in hell, how a rational person could be so bold as to assail the notion of the afterlife. How could he accept anything but complete certainty in avoiding that possibility? Even the poet, uh, it says here, Ala al-Ma'arri, basically, uh, Abu al-Ala al-Ma'arri, I would like to see if it's really originally. There's a mistake in the. Okay. No, it doesn't even mention, so it's really. It is Abu al-Ala al-Ma'arri. I'm talking about whether there's a mistake in the text itself or somewhere. No. So it's really Abu al-Ala al-Ma'arri. Despite his feeble intellect, said, I will read the Arabic because it's not really in the English text, and then the translation. زعم المنجم والطبيب كلاهما لا تحشر الأموات قلت إليكما إن صح قولكما فلست بخاسر أو صح قولي فالخسار عليكما. هذه the astronomer and the physician. Really, it's not the astronomer. Astronomy is a science, really, but it's really we talk about fortune tellers, not more. Astrologists at best. People who would really say that the zodiac would have an impact on your character, on your life, on your fortune, on your whatever. That's not really the. So talk about astrology. We don't talk about astronomy. That's a mistake, really. Because talk about munajjim. كذب المنجمون ولو صدقوا. Basically, there were those who would look into the pretty much like today. It's they think that the date of your birth will have an impact on your life and your character and your fortune and everything. That's sheer nonsense. So, on the two verses of poetry of Abu al-Ala al-Ma'arri, they both the physicians and the astrologers they claim, but it means maybe he's referring to a specific because Ibn Sina was also a physician. So, at any rate, in general, physicians do not get into this business. But at the time, you talk about specific people. So they claim that the dead are not resurrected. He said, if you are right, I'm not losing anything because you will be dead anyhow. But if I am right, both of you, meaning the astrologist and the physician, both of them are at a loss. So they claim that the dead will not be gathered, they will not be resurrected. I say to them, if your statement is correct, then I am no loser. But in my statement, if my statement is correct, then it is your loss, both of you. On the other hand, if you say, I know for certain that they are truthful, that death is non existent, that there is no punishment and no reward, that the prophets and the saints are delusional and deceptive, and that the reality of truth has only been unveiled to the ignorant physician. And if you claim, I know this, like I know that two is more than one, to the point that no doubt troubles me, then this indicates the corruption of your makeup, of your fabric, the feebleness of your intellect, and your remoteness from accepting treatment. Notwithstanding all this, however, it is said to you, if you were seeking comfort in the world, then your reason would also compel you to struggle against desire and break it. For indeed, finding comfort and freedom and deliverance from the grip of desires is not in following them. If they were to gain power over you, then they would be completely painful and drive you to bearing every humility and hardship. The only comfortable one in the world is the one who abandons it and has little interest in it. As for its seeker, he does not cease to toil therein. The one who denies the afterlife would also abandon the world, if he understood even a little, due to its abundant toil, ephemeral nature, and the vileness of those who share in it. So if you surmise nothing about the affair of the afterlife, nor have any certainty about the nature of the world upon witnessing its ills, then you are nothing but a deluded imbecile, and you will most definitely come to know of its news after a while. It is said to the likes of you, ذرهم يأكلوا ويتمتعوا ويلههم الأمل فسوف يعلمون. Leave them to eat and enjoy themselves and to be distracted by false hope, for they will come to know. Thus we have ended reading the epilogue, and inshallah, as of tomorrow, we'll start part 4, the last 10 fundamentals or principles. And it's about the praiseworthy character traits, al-akhlaq al-mahmuda, which are also 10. And we start with repentance, practically the way he started in the Ihya. Until tomorrow, inshallah. Subhanakallah wa bihamdik. نشهد أن لا نستغفرك ونتوب إليك. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.